So in the previous class we discussed about the president, who is also the nominal executive of our country, and the vice president. Here today we will be discussing about the prime minister, who is in real term the real executive head of our country, who possesses the real powers of our country. So how is the prime minister of our country elected? So in the first chapter which we discussed, that was Lok Sabha, that was the process through which the prime minister gets elected. Every after 5 years, general elections are held, and in the general elections, all the parties, all the national parties, regional parties, they contest the election, and whichever party comes in majority, they form the government. As I told you in the previous class, the total strength of Lok Sabha is 552, but at present we have 545, including the two nominated members from the Anglo-Indian community, nominated by the president of our country. So 545, let us take it. So the party which comes in majority, they form the government. Now, who is made the prime minister? Number one, the head of the majority party, or the leader of the majority party, or the party which contests the election under a particular leader showing his face as a prime ministerial candidate. He of course is being elected as the prime minister from among the party. Elected. And the elected prime minister of the party, elected head of the party, who is been declared as the prime minister of the country, is appointed by the president of our country. So president appoints the prime minister, and other council of ministers are appointed by the president on the advice of the prime minister. So first of all, again same thing. What are the qualifications required to become the prime minister? It is simple. That is not the question that what are the qualifications required to become the prime minister. The question is, what are the qualifications required to become the member of Lok Sabha, that we have done in the earlier class. So prime minister and the council of ministers. So who was our first prime minister of our country? So everybody knows, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. Whenever we discuss about the prime minister, there should not be a confusion that a prime minister is a real head or the nominal head. So in clear sense, prime minister is elected directly by the people, and he possesses the real powers of the executive. Prime minister is the real executive head of our country. The real power lies in the hand of the prime minister and the council of ministers. In the previous class, when we discussed about the president and his powers, we discussed about so many powers: legislative powers, executive powers, judicial powers. So let me clear you once again. All those powers he utilizes on the advice of the prime minister and the council of ministers. Now, prime minister is appointed by the president of our country, and the other ministers, who all are the helping hand of the prime minister, because prime minister alone cannot do the entire work. So he needs some ministers to help him, like a finance minister, home ministers, and railway minister. So many ministries are there, so they are to be looked after by the prime minister. So it cannot be done by himself. So he allocate portfolios to the member of the parliament, who all are in his party, who belongs to his party. So other ministers are also appointed by the president. On the advice of the prime minister. So who forms the council of ministers? It is the president. Because president appoints them, but in real sense, it is the decision made by the Prime Minister alone whom to give the ministry. That is decided by the Prime Minister. Now, there are three categories of ministers. There are three categories of ministers that we'll discuss afterwards. Now, Prime Minister. Who can become the Prime Minister? The member of the Parliament. Member of the Parliament. Of course, member of the Parliament. Now, member of the Parliament means we normally take it as a member of Lok Sabha. But we have many instances, examples that a member of Rajya Sabha also became the Prime Minister of our country. Now, let me tell you one by one. Members as well as non-members can also become the member of the Parliament. Now, who can become the member of Parliament? Number one, member of Lok Sabha, either Rajya Sabha. And in the year 1996, in the year 1996, SD, let me tell you, you might have heard his name in the list of the Prime Minister. His name is also given, SD. Okay, SD Dev. SD Devgowda became the Prime Minister. He was not the member of either house. He was not the member of Lok Sabha or the Rajya Sabha. Still, he became the Prime Minister. How it is possible? There is a provision in our constitution, my dear. Even the non-member can become the minister or the Prime Minister. I'll tell you how. Now, another example, let me tell you, 1997, Indra Kumar Gujral, I.K. Gujral, Indra Kumar Gujral, he also became the Prime Minister. Yes, he was the member of Rajya Sabha. But this SD Devgowda was not the member of Lok Sabha or either the Rajya Sabha, but still he became the Prime Minister. I'll tell you the provision. One more example let me give you. Now, in 2004, Dr. Manmohan Singh, Dr. Manmohan Singh, he also became the Prime Minister and he was the member of Rajya Sabha. So the question arises, can a non-member become the Prime Minister? Yes, there is a provision. Even the non-member of the Parliament can become the Prime Minister. But there is a certain condition. From the date of appointment, or from the day of appointment, within 6 months, he needs to be elected. He should be elected in the either house. That means from the day of appointment, within 6 months, how many months time he has? He has been given 6 months, and within these 6 months, he must be elected in any of the house, either the Lok Sabha or the Rajya Sabha. If he fails to get elected, then the government will be dissolved, let us say. So, SD Devgowda later on became the member of Rajya Sabha. So, he continued his office. So, if a question is asked, can a non-member become the Prime Minister or a minister? Yes, of course. Even the non-member can become the Prime Minister or the minister. But from the day of appointment, within the 6 months of the day of appointment, he must be elected in either house of the Parliament, either the Lok Sabha or the Rajya Sabha.